The matter of sleep is no small problem for many of us, myself at times included. A lot of things go into this, and we'll get into some of the ways to biohack this as this conversation kind of rolls on. And so sleep deprivation obviously causes a lot of problems. Being tired, being cranky. Sleep deprivation and poor sleep contributes to obesity and overeating. A variety of things go into that, including snoring, poor sleep mechanics, poor lifestyle choices or dietary choices that lead up to poor sleep environment. Sleep-deprived people end up with a lot of brain fog and fatigue, a lot of lost productivity, lost revenue. This issue is huge, and so I wanted to just kind of dive into a few simple tricks to really kind of biohack and improve your quality of your sleep. The issue of how much sleep to get is a moving target, depending on which expert and which resource you read. 7 hours, 8 hours. Some experts advocate 9 to 10 hours, which I personally think is too much. 6 hours is probably pushing it comfortably. 6 hours is probably okay. Less than that, I think metabolically, physiologically, there are some issues. But this is an individual moving target. It depends on your workload, your stress load. Are you training for a race? Are you working extra hours? Sort of a variety of things that can go into that decision. And the quality of sleep. I see a lot of patients in the office and consult with clients who claim that they get 9 hours of sleep every night, but they are exhausted. And when you really dive into the issue of their sleep, it's not great. They're watching TV, there's ambient noise, maybe they're sleeping with a pet, and so sleep quality is poor. And I think a general rule of thumb is a minimum of 6, pushing upwards towards 8 if you can. That's a good benchmark. The issue often pops up about napping. Is napping bad? Does napping affect the nighttime sleep quality? And again, I think that depends on several things. An afternoon nap, 15-20 minute power nap, I think is fine. As you stretch beyond that, you have to be cognizant of the phases of sleep, the different patterns of wave changes that go on inside the brain. And being jarred and jostled awake from a deep sleep sometimes can leave you groggy or foggy. Just ask any child, ask your 12-year-old, your teenager, how do you feel after a nap? Oh, Dad, I feel so tired. I'm never taking a nap again. It's probably because they slept a little bit too long and got woken up for a variety of reasons in the wrong phase of sleep. And we'll get into a way to hack that here at the end of this discussion. A few simple things to biohack your sleep. If you've heard me speak before, you know that I'm big into magnesium. Magnesium is an important element that's often depleted or undersupplied in a lot of our Western modern diets. Magnesium functions in a lot of body processes, but it also helps to relax muscle and relax in general. And so I love magnesium, whether that's magnesium tablets or an Epsom salt bath or soak at night. I think it's very powerful. L-theanine, this is derived, I recall, from green tea. This is sort of a natural way to calm the brain. It helps shut off some of those ruminating thoughts that may keep some of you awake at night. And it works through a neurotransmitter mechanism. It kind of shuts down some of the stress neurotransmitters in the brain. So very simple. Melatonin is closely related to serotonin, and melatonin is important for sleep. It also has some antioxidant functions in the body, but it's possible to test melatonin levels, and I'm a believer in the supplementation of melatonin. I take it particularly if I'm working some night shifts or traveling or crossing time zones. There's data out there on both sides of the fence whether it works or whether it doesn't work. Super high doses have been reported to cause problems, although it's interesting, in Europe they're using higher doses in breast cancer trials. So I think for myself, a low dose, a few milligrams before bed, mixed with a little lemon balm, depending on what product or formulation you like, really helps to get a little better quality sleep. Now, your sleep environment, this is huge. This is so often overlooked. Temperature, lighting, and blackout. Those are 3 simple little things here. The temperature, I think around 67 to 69 degrees is probably ideal. There's some literature and data out there on that. You'll have to kind of experiment based on your own body dynamics. Some people tend to run a, quote, higher thermostat, if you will. I think 67 is just right around perfect. Lighting, preparing for sleep is huge. How often are we on our devices, our phone, checking email, reading on the iPad, watching TV? all that light just stimulates the brain. And there are some apps for your computer that you can get to dial down the intensity of the light as the sun sets. Those are helpful. But I think really being cognizant of the pre-sleep period, for the few hours before you plan on going to bed, turn off the devices, get away from the TV. If you're going to be reading on your electronic device, your iPad, your Kindle, turn down the lighting a little bit and get a set of blue blocking sunglasses. It looks a little funky. My kids laugh when I wear them, but it makes a huge difference. And also lighting while sleeping. All the little devices in our bedrooms, TVs, VCRs, alarm clocks, phones, security systems, fire detection equipment, all those devices, or most of them, have little LED lights, which for me drives me crazy. So cover them up, unplug them if you don't need them, get rid of the extra light. And blackout. Blackout curtains are huge. If you live in an urban area and you've got a lot of ambient light coming through the windows, through the blinds, that really interferes with the quality of your sleep. Whether you want to admit it or not, it does. Melatonin production is huge in sleep, and any light source that you get while sleeping shuts off melatonin production, not just for that little bit of exposure, but for the entire duration of your sleep. For the night, it's ruined, it's gone. So black things out, get the room dark, get it cool, get rid of the ambient light, and prepare yourself for successful sleep. Logistics. Problem in my house, probably yours too, animals. We have several pets. A couple Great Danes in the bedroom can really wreak havoc. Dogs on the bed, huge problem. Cat crawling around at night, waking you up, definitely disrupts sleep. So if possible, get the animals out of the bedroom, or if you have a new dog, keep the dog on the floor. Get them their own bed, get them their own pen. Just keep them off the bed so they're not disturbing you. But what about your sleep partner? Do you have someone who thrashes around in bed? Do you have someone who snores? These are huge issues that impact sleep quality. One of the best things that we did in our house was a Tempur-Pedic bed. I mean, I'm not here to promote Tempur-Pedic. I'm not getting anything for saying this, but the reality is that a big Tempur-Pedic bed, when the partner's tossing and turning, or maybe you have a child in bed with you, the motion is really dampened and you just don't feel it. You don't get woken up. What about EMF, radiation? Your cell phone beside the bed, chiming, buzzing, texting, all that stuff emits radiation. You don't need that in the bedroom. You don't need that next to your head for sure. What about hydration and elimination? Some people swear by drinking, a couple glasses of tea at night, or, hydrating with a full 16 ounces of water before hopping into bed. That's all fine. I think it's great to be hydrated, but realize what your body is like. If you're someone who has to get up and pee 3 times a night, drinking 16 ounces of fluid before bed is really going to hamper the quality of your sleep. So you know your body, you know what works for you. Just be cognizant of that as you prepare for sleep. A few other hacks that I talked about. The blue blocking sunglasses are huge, particularly for those who are really into the digital age and utilizing their devices close to bedtime. Definitely invest in a pair. You can find them on Amazon for $5-6, pretty cheap. Amber lights, you want to get away from the blue lights. A lot of night lights and other ambient lights are blue, which tends to stimulate you. So you can buy some amber colored lights or night lights that emit amber colored light, doesn't disrupt the melatonin and doesn't wake you up as much. So a very simple device if you feel that you have to have some ambient light at night. Cover the devices. I talked about this just a little bit ago. Just a little sticky tape or a post-it note is what I use to cover up the flashing thing on the DVD player. And one of the coolest things that I've been experimenting with for the last year are sleep tracking apps. There are a number of apps out there. Find one that you like that's simple and use it. And we'll talk about that in just a second. The key here is to experiment. Figure out what's right for you. Don't rely on what your coworker swears by or what your friends or relatives or parents tell you. You have to figure out what works for you. Monitor, measure, and then reassess. Take a chunk of time, a week, a month, and really look at what you did, what you changed, and what worked. Go back and adjust. Pick one thing at a time. Don't change 4 or 5 things because it's really hard to figure out what worked for you. Adjust one simple thing, measure, and then reassess. I like rituals and routines. I have a very specific ritual and routine that I perform in the morning when I get up and at night before I go to bed. For those of you who have listened to the podcast or are part of some of the online courses that I teach, you realize the importance of this. A simple meditation in the morning, a glass of apple cider vinegar, I write my 5-minute journal, which takes literally 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night, And then at the end of the day, I bookmark again with a short meditation session, just a few minutes when I'm super busy or traveling, and maybe a little longer when I've got time, and getting geared up for a successful sleep. So you can experiment with those things. I think you'll find some life-changing information there once you start to measure and track and integrate some of these small changes that can really go a long way to optimizing your health.